The perfect life crumbles. There are moments in life when everything you believe to be true shatters like glass hitting concrete. For me, that moment came on what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. My name is Nathan Cole, and I thought I had it all figured out. At 32 years old, I had built a comfortable life as a software engineer in Seattle. I had a beautiful fiancée named Sarah whom I had loved since college, a decent apartment overlooking the city, and a wedding planned for the spring. Everything was perfect, or so I thought. Sarah Martinez was the kind of woman who turned heads when she walked into a room. Long dark hair, warm brown eyes, and a smile that could light up the darkest day. We met during our junior year at the University of Washington. She was studying marketing and I was buried in computer science courses. We bonded over late-night study sessions at the library and shared dreams of building a life together. 8 years later, I was ready to make those dreams a reality. The wedding was set for April 15th at a beautiful venue by the water. We had spent months planning every detail. Sarah wanted everything to be perfect, from the ivory roses to the string quartet that would play as she walked down the aisle. I didn't care much about the decorations or the music. All I cared about was marrying the woman I loved. I would have married her in a parking lot if that's what she wanted. That's how much I loved her. But love, I learned, can make you blind to the truth that's right in front of your face. The wedding day discovery. The morning of our wedding started like any other important day. I woke up early in my best friend's apartment where I had spent the night. Traditional rules said I couldn't see Sarah before the ceremony, so she stayed at our place. My best man, Marcus, made breakfast while cracking jokes about married life. He had been married for 3 years and loved to give advice whether I asked for it or not. "Last day of freedom, brother," he said, flipping pancakes with exaggerated flair. "Tomorrow you'll be asking permission to watch football." I laughed, but my mind was elsewhere. I was thinking about Sarah, about the life we would build together, about the children we would have someday. I had never been more certain about anything in my life. She was my person, my future, my everything. Around noon, I realized I had forgotten my grandmother's ring at our apartment. It was a family heirloom that had been passed down for 3 generations. My mother had given it to me 6 months ago with tears in her eyes, making me promise to give it to Sarah during the ceremony as a symbol of family unity. I had meant to bring it with me the night before, but in the chaos of last-minute preparations, it had slipped my mind. "I need to run back to the apartment," I told Marcus. "I forgot Grandma's ring." He looked at his watch. "We have 4 hours until the ceremony. Want me to come with you?" "No, stay here and make sure everything is ready at the venue. I'll be quick." The drive to our apartment took 20 minutes. It was a beautiful spring day, the kind where the sun feels warm on your skin and everything seems possible. Cherry blossoms were blooming along the streets, their pink petals dancing in the breeze. I remember thinking that it was a perfect day for a wedding. The universe was aligning for us. I parked in our usual spot and took the elevator up to the 5th floor. Our apartment was at the end of the hallway, number 507. As I approached, I noticed the door was slightly open. That was strange. Sarah should have left hours ago to get ready at the venue with her bridesmaids. Maybe she had forgotten something too. I pushed the door open quietly, not wanting to startle her if she was still inside. The living room was empty. Her wedding dress was gone from where it had been hanging on the closet door. But I heard voices coming from our bedroom. Low voices, intimate voices. My heart began to pound in my chest. Something felt wrong, very wrong, confronting the unthinkable truth. I walked slowly toward our bedroom, my feet moving on autopilot even though my brain was screaming at me to turn around. The door was halfway open. Through the gap I could see our bed. And on that bed, I saw something that destroyed me. Sarah was there, but she wasn't alone. My brother, Daniel, was with her. They were tangled together in sheets that Sarah and I had picked out together just last month. Their clothes were scattered across the floor. They were so absorbed in each other that they didn't even notice me standing there, frozen in the doorway like a statue made of pure shock and pain. I don't know how long I stood there. Maybe it was seconds. Maybe it was minutes. Time seemed to stop completely. My brain couldn't process what my eyes were seeing. This had to be a nightmare. I would wake up any moment in Marcus's apartment, laugh about the crazy dream, and get ready for my wedding. But I didn't wake up, because this wasn't a dream. Nathan! Sarah's scream pierced through my fog of disbelief. She had finally seen me. She scrambled to cover herself with the sheet, her face pale with shock. Oh my God, Nathan! I can explain. Daniel sat up, and for a moment our eyes met. My younger brother. The person I had protected and supported our entire lives. The brother I had helped through college when our parents couldn't afford it. The brother who had been my best man before Marcus. The brother who had stepped down from that role 3 months ago, claiming he was too busy with his new job to handle the responsibilities. Now I understood why. Get out, I said. My voice sounded strange to my own ears. Calm. Deadly calm. Both of you, get out of my apartment. Nathan, please let me explain, Sarah begged, tears streaming down her face. She tried to get out of bed, but I held up my hand. Don't. Just don't. Get dressed and get out. Daniel finally found his voice. Brother, I'm so sorry. We didn't mean for this to happen. It just... How long? I interrupted him. The calmness was cracking now. I could feel rage building underneath, hot and terrible. How long has this been going on? They looked at each other. That look told me everything. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This had been happening for a while. 6 months, Sarah whispered, her voice barely audible. 6 months. Half a year. While I was working overtime to pay for our wedding. While I was excitedly planning our honeymoon to Italy. While I was lying in bed next to her every night, telling her how much I loved her. While I was having Sunday dinners with my family, with both of them sitting at the same table, looking me in the eye. The silent exit. I turned and walked out of the bedroom. Behind me, I could hear Sarah crying, calling my name. I could hear Daniel saying something, but the words didn't register. I walked through our living room, past the photos of us on the walls. Pictures of our college graduation, our first apartment, last Christmas. All lies. Everything was a lie. I found my grandmother's ring sitting on the kitchen counter where I had left it. I picked it up, held it in my palm for a moment, then put it in my pocket. At least this family heirloom wouldn't be wasted on someone who didn't deserve it. My phone started buzzing. Marcus was calling. I answered. Hey man, everything okay? You've been gone for over an hour. An hour. I had been standing in that doorway watching my life fall apart for an hour. It had felt like both seconds and an eternity. The wedding is off, I said. What? Nathan, what are you talking about? Tell everyone the wedding is cancelled. I'll explain later. I hung up before he could ask more questions. Then I did something that surprised even myself. I didn't yell. I didn't break things. I didn't confront them again. I simply walked out of that apartment and never looked back. Rebuilding from ashes. The next few weeks were the darkest of my life. I stayed with Marcus and his wife, Jennifer, sleeping on their couch and barely eating. The wedding venue called asking about deposits. Guests called asking what happened. My mother called crying, begging me to tell her it wasn't true. My father called too, his voice tight with anger directed at Daniel. Sarah called and texted constantly. Hundreds of messages. Voicemails full of tears and apologies. She claimed she loved me. She claimed it was a mistake. She claimed Daniel had pursued her and she had been weak. Always excuses. Never real accountability. Daniel called too, but less frequently. His messages were shorter. More defensive. He claimed he had fallen in love with Sarah and couldn't help his feelings. He said I would understand someday. He said family should forgive. I blocked them both. The apartment lease was in my name. I had my lawyer send them an eviction notice. Sarah begged for more time to find a place. I gave her 1 week. On the 8th day, I hired movers to remove her belongings and change the locks. I couldn't bear to be in that apartment anymore anyway. Too many memories haunted every corner. I put in for a transfer at work. My company had offices in several cities. I requested Boston, far enough away to start fresh, but not so far that I couldn't visit Marcus when I needed to. My manager, who had heard what happened through the office grapevine, approved it immediately. "Take all the time you need, Nathan," she said kindly. "And if you need anything, just ask." Within a month of what should have been my wedding day, I had packed up my entire life in Seattle and moved across the country. I left behind my apartment, my routine, my family, and the woman I thought I would spend forever with. The letter that changed nothing. 2 weeks after I arrived in Boston, I received a letter. It was from Sarah. A real, physical letter, not an email or text. The envelope was cream-colored with my name written in her familiar handwriting. For a moment, I considered throwing it away without opening it. But curiosity got the better of me. Inside was 3 pages of her explanations and apologies. She wrote about how she never meant to hurt me, how she fought her feelings for Daniel but couldn't help herself, how they had tried to stay away from each other but kept being drawn back together. She wrote about how guilty she felt, how much she still cared about me, how she hoped I could forgive them someday. The last paragraph made my blood boil. "Daniel and I are trying to make this work," she wrote. "I know you must hate us both, but we truly fell in love. We're planning to get married next year. I hope that by then, you'll have found peace and maybe even happiness with someone new. You deserve that, Nathan. You deserve someone who can love you the way you deserve to be loved. I'm sorry I couldn't be that person. I'm sorry for everything." They were getting married. The woman who was supposed to be my wife was marrying my brother. And she had the audacity to wish me happiness in the same letter where she announced their engagement. I folded the letter carefully, put it back in the envelope, and placed it in a box in the back of my closet. Not because I wanted to keep it, but because I wanted a reminder of how trusting people could destroy you, a reminder to never be that naive again. Moving forward alone. Boston became my sanctuary. The city was cold and busy, perfect for someone who wanted to disappear into the crowd. I threw myself into work with an intensity that surprised even me. I started arriving at the office at 7 in the morning and leaving at 8 at night. Weekends were spent on personal coding projects that I had always talked about doing but never found time for. My manager noticed. "Nathan, you're doing great work, but you need to take care of yourself too. When was the last time you took a day off?" "I'm fine," I always said. And in a way I was. Work kept my mind busy, kept me from thinking about Sarah, about Daniel, about the family dinners I was no longer invited to because my presence made everyone uncomfortable. My parents tried to maintain relationships with both of us. My mother called every Sunday, her voice strained with the effort of pretending everything was normal. My father called less frequently, but when he did, I could hear the disappointment in his voice. Not disappointment in me, but in the situation, in Daniel's choices, in the fact that his family had been split in half by betrayal. "You should come home for Christmas," my mother said during one call in November. "Will Daniel be there?" I asked. A pause. "Yes, and Sarah. Then I'll pass." "Nathan, honey, you can't avoid your family forever." "I'm not avoiding my family, Mom. I'm avoiding the people who betrayed me. That's different." She sighed. "They've been together for over a year now. At some point, you have to move on. Move on." Everyone kept telling me to move on, as if betrayal was something you could just get over with enough time and distance, as if the scars left behind would fade if I just ignored them long enough. But I was moving on, just not in the way they wanted. I was building a new life, a life where I didn't need anyone, where I couldn't be hurt again. By December, I had been promoted. My personal project, a security software for small businesses, had attracted attention from investors. I found myself in meetings with venture capitalists who saw potential in my ideas. Within weeks, I had secured funding to turn my side project into a real company. On Christmas Eve, while my family gathered in Seattle without me, I sat in my small Boston apartment surrounded by business plans and incorporation papers. I was starting my own company. I was building something that was entirely mine, something that no one could take from me. That night, as snow began to fall outside my window, I made a promise to myself. I would succeed. I would build something incredible. And someday, everyone who had doubted me, everyone who had pitied me, everyone who had betrayed me, would see exactly what they had lost. I didn't know it then, but this was just the beginning. The betrayal that had destroyed my old life was about to become the foundation for something far greater than I could have imagined. And 3 years later, when I saw Sarah and Daniel again, they would realize that the biggest mistake of their lives wasn't just betraying me. It was underestimating what I would become without them. A new beginning in a new city. 3 years can change everything. 3 years can turn pain into power, weakness into strength, and a broken man into someone unrecognizable. That's exactly what happened to me. By the time I turned 35, my life looked nothing like it had on that terrible wedding day. My company, SecureNet Solutions, had grown from a one-man operation in my tiny apartment to a thriving business with 42 employees and offices in 3 cities. We specialized in cybersecurity software for small and medium-sized businesses, filling a gap in the market that bigger companies ignored. Our revenue had hit $8 million in our second year, and we were projected to double that by year's end. I had moved from my modest apartment to a luxury condo in the Seaport District with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Boston Harbor. I drove a Tesla Model S and wore custom-tailored suits. I worked out every morning at 5, ran marathons for charity, and had even been featured in a Boston Business Journal article titled, "Tech Entrepreneurs Under 40 to Watch." From the outside, I had everything: success, money, respect, independence. But inside, I was still that man standing in the doorway watching his world crumble. I had built walls around my heart so high and thick that no one could climb them. I dated occasionally, but never seriously. I kept people at arm's length, always waiting for the moment they would reveal themselves as untrustworthy. Because everyone eventually did, right? Marcus was the only person from my old life who remained constant. He and Jennifer had moved to Boston 18 months ago when his company relocated. Having them nearby helped ease the loneliness I pretended I didn't feel. They invited me to dinner parties and tried to set me up with Jennifer's single friends. I went along with it to make them happy, but my heart was never in it. "You can't keep living like this," Jennifer told me one evening over dinner at their house. "You're successful, handsome, and completely alone. That's not living, Nathan. That's just surviving." "I'm fine," I said, the same response I had been giving for 3 years. "You're not fine," Marcus interjected. "You work 80 hours a week and spend your free time working more. When was the last time you did something just for fun?" I opened my mouth to argue, then closed it. Couldn't remember. Every activity in my life served a purpose. Exercise kept me healthy and sharp for work. Reading kept me informed about industry trends. Even my rare social outings were usually networking events disguised as parties. "See," Jennifer said gently, "you need to start living again. Really living." I promised them I would try, but we all knew I wouldn't. The walls I had built weren't just protection anymore. They had become my prison, and I was too afraid to tear them down. The unexpected success. In early September, something happened that would change the trajectory of my life once again. I received a call from Richard Morrison, the CEO of Tech Vanguard Industries, one of the largest technology conglomerates in the country. They were interested in my security software. "Mr. Cole," his assistant said over the phone, "Mr. Morrison would like to schedule a meeting to discuss a potential partnership. Would you be available next Tuesday at 2 o'clock? A partnership with Tech Vanguard could catapult my company into the major leagues. It could mean expansion, resources, and validation that we were doing something truly innovative. It could also mean losing control of the company I had built from nothing." The meeting was scheduled at their corporate headquarters in New York City. I flew down Monday evening and checked into a hotel near their offices. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept reviewing my presentation, checking the numbers, making sure every detail was perfect. This was the opportunity one had been working toward for 3 years. Tuesday morning arrived with clear skies and crisp autumn air. I put on my best suit, navy blue with a subtle pinstripe, and a tie that Jennifer had helped me pick out months ago. Confidence without arrogance, she had said. That's what this tie says. The Tech Vanguard building was a gleaming tower of glass and steel in Midtown Manhattan. Their lobby alone probably cost more than my entire first year of business expenses. I gave my name to the receptionist, a polished woman with a bright smile, and she directed me to the 42nd floor. Richard Morrison's office was exactly what I expected. Enormous, with a view of Central Park and furniture that probably cost more than most people's cars. He was in his late 50s, silver-haired, with the kind of commanding presence that comes from decades of success. "Nathan Cole," he said, standing to shake my hand. His grip was firm but not aggressive. "I've heard impressive things about SecureNet Solutions. Please sit." We spent 2 hours discussing my company, my vision, and the potential for partnership. He asked intelligent questions and seemed genuinely interested in the technology rather than just the bottom line. By the end of the meeting, he made an offer that took my breath away. "We'd like to acquire SecureNet Solutions for $85 million, he said casually, as if he was discussing the weather. "You would stay on as CEO of the division with complete creative control and a 5-year contract. We provide the resources and distribution network. You provide the innovation. $85 million. More money than I had ever dreamed of having. Financial security for the rest of my life. Validation that I had built something truly valuable. I need time to think about it," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Of course. Take a week. Discuss it with your lawyers and advisors." "But Nathan," he leaned forward, his expression serious. "Opportunities like this don't come around often. Your company is impressive, but imagine what it could be with our backing. Old wounds and new faces." I left the Tech Vanguard building in a daze. $85 million. I walked through Central Park, my mind spinning with possibilities. I could accept the offer, secure my future, and prove to everyone, including myself, that I had won. That I had taken the worst moment of my life and turned it into triumph. My phone rang. It was Marcus. "How did it go?" he asked immediately. "They offered $85 million for the company." Silence. Then, "Holy shit, Nathan. Are you going to take it?" "I don't know. I need to think." "What's there to think about? This is everything you've worked for." He was right. This was everything I had worked for. So why did I feel so empty? I spent the afternoon walking around Manhattan, eventually finding myself in a small cafe in Greenwich Village. I ordered coffee and sat by the window, watching people hurry past. Everyone seemed to know where they were going, what they wanted. I had thought I knew too. Success. Independence. Proof that I didn't need anyone. But sitting there with the biggest opportunity of my life on the table, all I felt was alone. My phone buzzed with a text message. Unknown number. Probably spam. But something made me open it anyway. "Nathan, it's Sarah. I know you blocked me, but I got your number from Marcus. I need to talk to you. It's important. Please." My heart stopped. Sarah. I hadn't heard from her in almost 3 years. After the first year, her messages had stopped coming. I had assumed she and Daniel were living their happy life together, having forgotten all about me. I should have deleted the message immediately. Should have blocked this number too. But curiosity, that damned curiosity, made me respond. "What do you want?" The 3 dots appeared immediately, showing she was typing. Then, "I'm in Boston for work. Can we meet? Just for coffee. Please. I need to see you." Every rational part of my brain screamed no. Meeting her would accomplish nothing. The past was dead and buried. I had moved on. But another part of me, the part that still carried that pain from 3 years ago, wanted answers. Wanted closure. Wanted to look her in the eye and show her exactly what she had given up. "One coffee. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. Thinking Cup on Tremont. Don't bring Daniel." "Thank you. I'll be there." And Nathan, Daniel won't be a problem. The business proposal. I flew back to Boston that evening, my mind divided between the business opportunity and the upcoming meeting with Sarah. What could she possibly want after all this time? Was she going to apologize again? Invite me to their wedding? Tell me she was pregnant with my brother's child? The next morning, I arrived at the cafe 15 minutes early. I wanted to be settled, in control when she arrived. I ordered a black coffee and sat at a corner table where I could see the door. My hands were steadier than I expected. 3 years of rebuilding myself had given me armor that I hoped would hold. She walked in at exactly 10 o'clock. For a moment, I didn't recognize her. The confident, radiant woman I remembered was gone. Sarah looked tired, thinner, with dark circles under her eyes that even makeup couldn't quite hide. Her clothes were expensive but hung loosely on her frame. She spotted me and walked over, her smile uncertain.
Nothing.
Sarah. I didn't stand up, didn't offer to hug her, just gestured to the chair across from me. You said this was important. She sat down, clutching her purse like a life preserver. Thank you for meeting me. I wasn't sure you would. I almost didn't. You have 10 minutes. She flinched at my coldness but nodded. I deserve that. I deserve worse than that. She took a deep breath. I'm not with Daniel anymore. We split up 6 months ago. Of all the things I had expected her to say, that wasn't one of them. Why are you telling me this? Because I made a terrible mistake, Nathan. The worst mistake of my life. And I've spent every day of the last 3 years regretting it. You regret getting caught, I said flatly. There's a difference.
No.
Her voice was firm now. I regret hurting you. I regret destroying what we had. I regret choosing Daniel when he never really chose me. Now I was interested. What do you mean? Sarah's hands trembled as she wrapped them around her coffee cup. Daniel never loved me. He wanted me because I was yours. Once we were together, once the excitement of the affair wore off, he got bored. He started staying out late, coming home smelling like perfume. Different perfume. He was cheating on me the same way we cheated on you. There should have been satisfaction in hearing this. Karma. Justice. But all I felt was pity. Not for her, but for all of us. We had all lost something real for something fake. I'm sorry that happened to you, I said, and I meant it. But I'm not sure why you're telling me this. Because I want you back, Nathan. The words came out in a rush. I know I don't deserve it. I know I destroyed everything. But these 3 years have shown me what I gave up. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I was too stupid and selfish to see it. I sat back in my chair, studying her face. She believed what she was saying. She genuinely thought we could go back, that love could be resurrected from betrayal. No, I said simply. Please, just listen.
No, Sarah.
You don't get to do this. You don't get to blow up my life, marry my brother, and then come back when it doesn't work out and expect me to catch you. That's not how this works. Tears started rolling down her cheeks. I know I hurt you, but don't you believe in second chances? Don't you believe people can change? I believe people can change, I said. I'm proof of that. 3 years ago, I was a man who trusted too easily, who loved too blindly. Now I'm someone who knows better. You taught me that lesson, Sarah. Consider it your final gift to me, a chance encounter that reopens wounds. I stood up to leave, but Sarah grabbed my wrist. Nathan, wait, there's something else. Something I need to tell you. What? I pulled my hand away. It's about why Daniel and I really split up. She looked around the cafe nervously, then back at me. He's in trouble. Financial trouble. Bad trouble. Despite myself, I sat back down. What kind of trouble? He started a business 2 years ago. Some kind of investment firm. He borrowed money from people he shouldn't have borrowed from. Now they want it back and he doesn't have it. He's been asking me for money. Asking your parents. Asking anyone who will listen. And you're telling me this because? Because he's going to ask you too. I know you hate us both and you have every right to. But he's your brother. He's scared, Nathan. Really scared. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. So let me understand this correctly. You came here to ask me to take you back, and when that didn't work, you're now asking me to bail out the man you cheated on me with? The same brother who betrayed me? Is that really what's happening right now? Sarah's face reddened. When you put it like that, how else should I put it? I stood up again, my voice rising slightly. People at nearby tables were starting to look. I didn't care. You two destroyed me. You took the life I had planned and burned it to the ground. And now you want me to save him? After everything. He's your brother, she whispered. He was my brother, I corrected. Now he's just someone I used to know who made his own choices. Choices have consequences, Sarah. You both taught me that. I walked toward the door, but her voice stopped me one more time. Nathan, please. They're dangerous people. If he doesn't pay them back, I'm afraid of what they'll do. I turned back to look at her one final time. This woman I had once loved more than life itself. This woman I had planned to build a future with. Now she was just a stranger wearing a familiar face, begging me to save a man who didn't deserve saving. Tell Daniel to call the police if he's in danger. Or better yet, tell him to handle his own problems like an adult. Either way, it's not my concern anymore. This time, when I walked out, she didn't try to stop me. Her desperate phone call. The next 2 days were chaos. Not because of Sarah's revelation, but because I was negotiating the final terms of the Tech Vanguard deal. My lawyers had questions. The investors had opinions. Everyone wanted a piece of the decision. On Thursday evening, my phone rang. Daniel's name appeared on the screen for the first time in 3 years. I had never blocked him the way I had blocked Sarah. Some part of me, I suppose, had been waiting for this call. Waiting for him to apologize, to explain, to acknowledge what he had done. I answered, "What do you want, Daniel?" "Nathan." His voice was rough, desperate. "I need your help. Sarah already told me. The answer is no. Please just hear me out. I'm your brother. Family helps family." The laugh that came out of me was sharp and bitter. "You lost the right to call yourself my brother 3 years ago. You made your choice on my wedding day. Remember? I made a mistake. A terrible, stupid mistake. But I'm begging you, Nathan. I owe these people $200,000. If I don't pay by next week, they're going to..." His voice broke. "Going to what? Hurt you? Kill you?" I kept my voice emotionless. "That sounds like a problem you created. Why should I fix it?" "Because you have the money now. Sarah told me about your big deal. You're about to be a multimillionaire. $200,000 is nothing to you. So that was it." Sarah hadn't come to apologize or beg for forgiveness. She had come to scope out my financial situation so Daniel would know how much to ask for. They were still working together, still planning together. Some things never changed. "You're right," I said. $200,000 is nothing to me. But you know what? Could be $2 and I still wouldn't give it to you. Not after what you did. Nathan, please.
I'm desperate.
They're going to kill me. Then you should have thought about that before you decided to sleep with my fiancé. Before you decided to start the wedding day by betraying your own brother. Before you decided to borrow money from criminals to fund a lifestyle you couldn't afford. You made your choices, Daniel. Now live with them. You heartless bastard. His desperation turned to rage. I'm your flesh and blood. Mom and Dad would be ashamed of you. Mom and Dad made their choice too, I said quietly. They chose to keep both of us in their lives, which meant choosing neither of us really. They chose comfort over principle. But I'm not them. I know who betrayed me, and I know where my loyalty ends. I'll tell everyone what kind of person you really are. I'll ruin you. Go ahead. Tell them. Tell them that I refused to bail out my brother who slept with my fiancée on my wedding day. Tell them I refused to enable a man who made terrible decisions and refused to take responsibility for them. See how much sympathy you get. I hung up before he could respond. My hands were shaking, but not from fear or sadness. From anger, yes, but also from something else. Liberation. For 3 years, I had carried the weight of their betrayal. But in that moment, refusing to be their safety net, I finally let it go.